Assalamu alaikum, guys.
Assalamualaikum, everyone. So, gents, this is a JS Bank Fireside chat. We have Mr. Asad Nasir and Mr. Waqas Anis. Asad is our Chief Investment Officer, Head of Digital and Open Banking, and Waqas heads our digital wallet products and innovation. Or, sorry, excuse me there. What do we do again?
You're pretty close there. So I'm just heading digital transformation and international business. But I think you got Asad spot on.
But then why was
I'll just mention that I have generator issues and light issues and everything else. So despite that, I'm here. So I'm just glad to be here. So I don't know what Salal introduced me as, but I'm hoping it was complimentary.
That's
good
very
enough.
kind of
Fantastic.
very kind of
But absolute pleasure to
Gents?
be. Salal.
No, please.
No, I was saying thank you for the intro. I mean, this seems like an internal meeting. Of course, we speak every day, the three of us, but just an absolute pleasure to be a part of this. I'm really looking forward to what the teams will be able to come up with over the next 48 hours, etc. Then there's a judging event on Sunday. There's really some really exciting work happening. So really looking forward to this. But maybe if I can ask Waqas, what do you want to see come out of this? You're the head of business transformation. This probably impacts you the most right now. So what do you want to see come out of this?
I hope something of great quality comes out and I can just plug it into my systems and start using it. But honestly, I think this is a great platform. And very briefly, I'll touch upon one particular pain point. So over the last few years, and especially since the advent of COVID-19, what we've seen is an explosive import and proliferation of tech in Pakistan. But I think what I've, in my opinion, seen is that there is still a lack of, I wouldn't say quality, but real life cases that actually help people out. So, for example, 2 years ago, it would be impossible for somebody to pay his federal taxes online off an app. The app was meant when you talked about billers and billing and all of that. It was just about topping up your mobile connection and paying your Bijli ka bill and all that. So it's really happened. But how many cases are there of such huge significance? So we've got companies doing ECIBs, credit checks. We've got companies now coming up in logistics, in health, and so many that you guys, both of you, deal with on every day. But we need to have more of that with practical implications. So I hope that is what we get out of this fest.
No, absolutely. I think just adding on to that, I think now what we've seen, especially in Pakistan, whether it's on the digitization front, whether it's on the startup culture coming up, etc., is that now we're at that stage where there has to be genuine problem solving. Now, there's a genuine problem that you solve. I think that's what will make it now, because ideas are great, etc. But now we're at that stage where people need to come up, solve problems okay are there for everyone, and I think where we are, I mean, one of the things that really excites me is a lot of it is uncharted territory. It doesn't look like a lot of times people complain regulated this, government that, but actually there's so much opportunity here that one small change you bring about can have a significant impact. So I think that for me is what I think I'm really looking for the most, because someone solves a problem that can be just put to use straight away.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, gents, I absolutely agree on that front. And we've seen about $235 million in venture funding, which has made us, the top 3 markets in the MENA region now. So, and I believe that the first, and in terms of the first layer of startup that came through, were what doing what you gents have suggested, with your experience, obviously, which were filling these institutional voids. So solving use cases for emerging markets like Pakistan. Ab aage jate hue jo hai, that's a real challenge, because now you're talking about using technologies that are nascent in themselves and tailoring them to the emerging market. So now we're talking about blockchain. Now we're talking about Internet of Things. We're talking about machine learning
Absolutely.
and algorithms. And Vikas, I would, throw a question there at you. How have you seen the transformation of, JS Bank, and how are other, how's the financial services space reacting to these open APIs to allow for all these things to happen? So what
yeah,
have you
great
witnessed
question.
there?
Great question. So, specific to JS Bank, I'm still a newbie, as Asad puts it. So, but the thing is, I think it's still taking baby steps for some reason. I know the regulator has come in, which is tremendous thing to do, and now coming up with a framework for open APIs, specifically for open APIs. But it has been there for a while actually. The JS Bank has been one of those institutions which have taken a great leap forward over the last 48 months, probably more than that, and have come up with world-class sign-ups, partnerships, whereby they're putting out this framework. But right now, if I can count it in the financial industry, there is just JS Bank and two other banks, and probably those two banks are in the top 5. So that says a lot about out of 30 odd commercial banks and microfinance and nimble organizations, what is happening on the open API front? Not much.
And I
Okay.
think, but of course, we're here for a specific purpose as well, right? The three of us. I mean, so getting into it, I don't know. Maybe I'll throw this to you, Salal. I can add some stuff as well, but I'll throw this to you. What are you actually trying to? What is it that you want people to focus on? Yeah, I mean, it's a very broad question, but if you were to ask one
Okay.
key area or two key areas, what should they focus on?
So I think the next phase, my personal humble opinion for the next phase for Pakistani startups, is to focus on emerging technologies, deploying those in emerging markets, whilst also keeping in mind things that are important for us as investors, right? Or things that are important for us as investors are obviously the IS, the cybersecurity angle to all these objects. So जब हमने ये थोड़ा सा at the preamble, we spoke about the challenges that our team has put out for all the hackers out there. So the IS angle is very important when you're developing a product. Most people are like, here we go. Like now it's just an open integration, so you can plug in. अब banks ने भी enable कर दिया 3, करंदाज भी कर रहा है रास्त के साथ. अब आगे जाते हुए, what will happen when these startups scale? Right? They're going to start being targeted, and you're handling people's information, their data, their livelihoods. So you need to have a keen eye on cybersecurity and information security. Vikas Saab, what are your thoughts there?
Absolutely. I think this is one of the areas on which culturally, not just startups or anything, culturally we've had a deficiency. So I've been around in the banking industry for close to 20 years. What I've seen is, and now thank God it's changing, it is that, okay, I want to put project A live, right? So I'll sweat over the code, I'll sweat over the immutability of it, over the stack it's going to ride over. I'm going to worry about the marketing campaign, the product development. The one thing that historically I would not be worried about is information security, and that has actually come back to haunt us on a few occasions, haven't they?
Yeah.
So that's
Absolutely.
absolutely good point you've made.
Absolutely. I think, as I understand, there's some questions coming up as well. So I think we may get to that in a couple of minutes. But just one other thing that I want to add: IS, information secure, everything is absolutely critical. But I think also the one thing that I want to see now is, and it's a word that gets thrown a lot, but really the whole gamification experience, right? People are no longer just simply interested in getting a function. You have to engage them, and when you engage them, you have to engage them in a way that it's unlike anything else, because otherwise you're not going to get loyalty, that stickiness, etc. So for me, that's the other thing that I really want to see, how people will get actual customer engagement on board, because that's an area where I think financial services in Pakistan has struggled a fair bit. It's changing, but I think that is really going to be the key as to how people sort of perceive us and how they use our products. So for me, when we're this is obviously a hint to all the people out there. Information security is obviously critical, but gamification is getting customer engagement is just as important.
Absolutely. So gamification, right, is a buzzword. It's 2021's buzzword for startups. So that isn't for me personally. It also means that we should not just do gamification and put in metaverse or augmented reality in a deck, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, this should actually enable the customer to perform their objective in a fun way. So you could do gamification like we're doing as one of our challenges for a banking app. So we would obviously want to see like what allows you to make transactions more fun as well.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Very true. So I have a question for both of you. Since
Yeah.
I'm sort of a student here coming from the dinosaur industry, and you guys have been doing this a long time, or at least for a while. So there's this inherent curiosity in us Pakistanis, and I believe everywhere across the world, to compare our quality of work with the region, our neighbors, and across the seas. So in your opinion, and it's very valuable to everybody listening, where do we stand in terms of our tech quality till now compared to, say, our neighbors or Gulf or Africa?
So maybe if I can address that first, I think there's unfortunately two answers to this, and I'll explain why. If you look at a lot of the tech talent that we have, I think that's actually very good. You've got firms sitting out of Lahore, Karachi, Islamabad, etc., who have dedicated large development, DevOps, project management, etc. teams that are catering entirely to a North America, European client base. They don't even have time to look at local clientele, right? So, of course, the talent isn't the issue. These are people who've come up from local universities, local sort of organizations, and learned. I think where we do lack is a lot of that doesn't translate often to some of the tech that we see upfront for a lot of the investment options that come up or any fintech coming up. I think there is some disparity, and I think if people are able to tap some of the talent that is working on these things for a lot of global customers, I think there's a big opportunity for them. Right now, when Salal and I look at a lot of the ecosystem work, and Salal, you can elaborate as soon as I finish, we often find that the tech stack is something that requires a decent amount of work. So it's not like it's doom and gloom, but certainly whenever people raise funds, tech is where they want to spend money on. So you can tell that so the answer, like I said, is twofold. There is a lot of talent, but unfortunately, it's being used in other avenues, and I'm just hoping that we'll be able to tap a lot of that as we proceed.
Inshallah.
And inshallah, I agree with Asad. It's a great question as well, Vikas. Like, thank you for this. To be very candid and honest, like I've worked in the Middle East for 5-6 years prior to this in venture capital as well. So if I were to give a contrast, I think we are the 4th biggest freelancer market in the world right now, right? Yeah. We're the 3rd highest for blockchain growth in the world. There's more people that are buying. So people say that, the regulations need to come through for innovation to happen. No, we have the people pre-regulation. अभी कोई स्टेट बैंक ने ब्लॉकचेन के ऊपर कोई सैंडबॉक्स शायद बन रहा है, इंशाल्लाह बन जाए अगले साल, लेकिन यूज केसेस लोग बना रहे हैं. हमारे एक what I found amazing for a entrepreneur was that there is a gentleman based in Lahore who has done a ICO, a tokenized offering, and raised $6 million for a technology company to build the rails of a crypto exchange. Yeah, so Vikas bhai, the answer is right there. This did not happen in Dubai. This did not happen in San Francisco. This happened in Lahore. So the talent is there. Now, what is he worried about? Everything else, right? Because he has a great idea. ये एक मसला है पाकिस्तान में कि आप अच्छा idea लाए, तो बस you are, So inshallah, we're moving in the right direction. But I don't think that there's any, lack of talent whatsoever.
So I'm going to try and get some engagement from the comment section. There was a question that I saw, and I'm just going to pull it up. Bilal Afzal, I think, had mentioned that for the first challenge, is it related to stocks investment? And if it is, can we use international stocks? Are you restricted to Pakistan? I think if I take a first stab at answering that, I would like it to be Pakistan focused primarily because that's the market you're trying to address right now. So I think it'd be nice to see how you can do an international stock, but again, what we said at the start, there's a problem that you want to solve, and the problem would be for a local market first before you even consider trying to go abroad because Pakistan will not let you do that. So I think that's one of the feedbacks I have. Of course, you guys, maybe Salal, Vikas, आप लोग ने अगर इसमें कोई add on करना है, but I think that's one question I saw. I don't know if you want to add anything further to that.
So just very quickly, the second part of the question, or the first part of the question, was about what investment means. So it could be stocks, yes, but it could be any investments. It could be you considering a PIB, a T-bill, Sukuk, bonds, anything you can think of. Sky's the limit.
Yeah, REIT. You can do a lot of people are now coming into real estate.
Absolutely.
If you can try and link it up to a REIT, that's so absolutely sorry. Should have elaborated on that. That's a fantastic addition.
I think I completely agree with you, gents. It should be Pakistan. We have a very low penetration in our stock market. We know this, obviously, being JS, right? So, gents, hackers actually, we would really appreciate if you focused on Pakistan first before anyone else.
There's a question, I think, from Mozam Hussain. The wallet app is just for asking if the wallet app is just for existing JS Bank customers, and what about JS Investments and other new customers? So the JS wallet is not restricted to just JS Bank customers. It is whoever opens that wallet up, and it's a pretty simple process. So to answer your question, it's not just for JS Bank customers. Our wallet is open for anyone. With regards to JS Investments and new customers, I mean, obviously these are separate organizations. There's a lot of work that's happening, but the whole point is to be able to come up with a solution that you could get these parties to work through whatever your platform or anything else, to be able to get them to quickly engage in the exercise of being able to make an investment. So I think I don't know if that, hopefully, Mozam, that would answer your question, but that's basically in a nutshell. It is not just restricted to JS Bank customers. Of course, it will be restricted to whoever opens the wallet.
So there's this one user, and his or her name is Kamal Fit. So it should be a guy. So he's coming up with some brilliant comments, and thank you very much. So for sharing and commenting and indulging us. So there's a question, and this is not for me. Thank you. It says, what is the scale of corporate ventures in Pakistan? Primarily, are corporates engaged in startup culture with money, or do we see foreign/new investors coming into the industry? So the question being that, are the corporates helping the culture of fintech and startups?
Sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, I love this. I love this question because this was the thesis that I saw joining a corporate like JS. So Alhamdulillah, as a corporate, we've deployed $6 million in VC in Pakistan, and we embrace the startup culture internally at the bank, at the JS group level. So I don't see this being a limiting factor globally. I mean, when you come to a corporate, the one thing you will receive is additional value add. Currently, in terms of numbers specifically, you're talking about 10 of the top investment groups in Pakistan are engaged in VC. So it's all of them. I mean, we have dear friends in Fatima that are engaged. They've partnered with Gobi, which is a seasoned venture fund out of the Southeast Asia. So yeah, I mean, it's not just us. It's many other than us as well, and many before us. And obviously, JS Bank is the same. We invest in startups. We partner with startups. We enable startups. Asad has been doing this way before I was. Noman has been doing it with him. So ye to chal raha hai.
And Kamal, if I could just just adding on to Sabal's point, and this is obviously for everyone, but Kamal's question, it's a mindset thing as well. Corporates are involved in Pakistan. a lot of the large corporate groups, companies, etc., are engaged. But of course, they will look at it from a perspective, KG, what makes sense for them, what works for them. They're not, they're not a fund. They are a corporate which has a certain business that they're in. But I think for a lot of entrepreneurs and companies coming up, startups coming up, you should also research which entity your product would best suit, right? Because often they may not be on the lookout for it directly, but if you approach them,
Absolutely.
you will almost find that they will come and say, "Oh, this is a game changer for us. We'll do it." So I think a lot of it is also. I mean, it shouldn't be a one-way traffic. It should be both ways. It shouldn't just be corporates looking for new opportunities, but also a lot of people may start investing once you start engaging them if it solves the general problem for their business. So I think I would add to that that people are doing this. The foreign money and new investors coming from abroad is still in its infancy. It's the last few years it's happened. Before that, startups in a variety of ways have always been funded locally, whether through corporate ventures, through in a few cases through capital markets, and or through the friends and family round. So I think what culture here is just not maybe that well documented or that well structured, but certainly they do invest. Okay.
I think.
No, go for it.
So just before the next question, I think we've all missed out on, a little bit of backdrop. There was this transaction to do with Airlink, right?
Yeah.
And that's a good example of corporate venture in Pakistan from seed to IPO. So ये शुरू जो आसिद ने किया था और खत्म अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह हो गया किसी तरह अल्लाह की तरफ से. But this has been a great example of a company that started off as a small company, mobile phone manufacturer, tremendous growth, went for listing, went to the same group. And again, as Asad was saying, those synergies existed with that specific group. And therefore, they advised them on their listing, listed in an oversubscribed IPO, and has been performing well since. So,
no, exactly. I don't know how much time we have, but assuming we've got maybe another 5 minutes,
Yeah,
I think
definitely. I would say if you wish to go, if you wish to just stay longer and answer questions, feel free to do so. But yeah, like the official time, like it's still like at
So maybe we can do one more
30.
question because I saw it come up on the comment section. If that's okay,
Yeah,
we'll
which one?
quickly address it. This is linked to an earlier question we had on the first use case. Kashan Heather ka question is Jace Challenge 1. Can you elaborate on micro and or macro level investments? What does the future do? What is the expectation, use case, or any example reference? I think Kashan, in this case, we've already elaborated. It could be any type of investment you're looking at, whether it's the stock market, mutual funds, PIB, etc. REITs. That is not sort of defined. You could choose which one you want. But underlying the underlying use case that you're solving is investments in Pakistan is often seen as something that's restricted to high net worth individuals, or at least a small population that has a certain amount of wealth that they can then deploy in investments. And I think the use case that we're trying to get out of this and get the problem we're trying to solve is getting an average person who may have just started their career, a younger person or someone with not necessarily high net worth income, being able to do the same. Because you do not want people to think that all their cash should just remain in a bank account and just earn a small interest on it. They should be able to really have a diversified portfolio. Pakistan mein, right now, the number of people involved in the stock exchange is minuscule compared to even our neighbors like Bangladesh, etc. India ko to aap bhul jaye. So I think the point we're trying to get is to engage people more. Digital onboarding and digital services was one element to it, but now how do we get to the next stage of engaging them and getting them to use the product? I think that's what you need to focus on.
Yep. Spot on, gents. A question for me, for everyone that is now on the panel. What's your favorite gaming memory? Because a lot of people are asking about gaming. So
I'm going to go
because I want
on at the start. I'm the oldest one here. मैं सुपर मारियो के बाद ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं खेला, ठीक है? So मैंने उसके बाद क्रिकेट ही खेली है. So I think I'll get that out of the way straight away so that then you guys can give your opinion.
Okay.
That's just too honest.
Great game. Waqas bhai, aap bataye.
Sir, nothing like FIFA for me. I'm a footballer, so I love FIFA. I've been hooked onto FIFA since FIFA 96.
Yeah,
Imagine that.
oh God. You mean the one where you had to lick it? वो जो इस तरह करके चाट के फिर आप गेम चलाते थे वो वाली
It
FIFA?
was, it
Oh
was
God.
back in the day. I think it was on PC and it was on a CD, and it
Oh,
used
I
to
see.
hang half the time. Yeah, you play with a keyboard.
Yeah. Now,
What
now I
about
feel
you?
like the odd one out. अब मुझे लग रहा है कि मैं odd one out हूँ. मेरी जी favorite game जो थी अगर मैं FIFA कहूँ तो that would be one of them, but I would also say GTA. I mean that was a
Oh yeah,
game that I started out playing. GTA was a
Rockstar,
lot of yeah,
Rockstar.
Rockstar. What was it called? The city. It's something city, right? Vice City or something like that. Yeah, it was a good game.
Yeah, yeah,
It was a
yeah.
good game.
So, but anyway, before we end this, I think one question that's coming up for a lot of people on the comment section is that I think they're having some issues with the sign up on the developer portal. So I think, as I understand, that matter has been resolved or has been resolved. So I think in the next half an hour or so, people should be able to use that half an hour, 45 minutes. So I think that's a comment coming in. So we checked internally, and I think that should sort out very soon. Um, so I think that's enough from all of us. Hamza, if there's anything else you'd like us to add, otherwise we're happy to end this.
Yeah, thank you. So I just want to thank you guys for being here and supporting us on this amazing hackathon. And yep, if as you mentioned, if the participants are getting this issue with the API, there's a specific JSBL hackathon channel where they can actually reach out to your tech leads, and we'll actually trying to resolve this issue as soon as possible. Thank you guys. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank
Good
you,
luck to
everybody. Take care.
everyone.
Good luck.
Bye bye.
Bye.